time. Yeah. Uh, so it's a pleasure to be part of this institution, and CSI, of course, has been doing a lot of trainings for your colleges for the past few years. So today's topic being a role of NGOs in developing NGOs and startups. Uh, I think it is something which I can align with, and I've been working with. So I'll request you to share the slides, ma'am, as I discuss this topic, so that my concentration will be more on talking to the students. Uh, yes, when we say NGOs, we all know as sociologists who NGOs are, non-government organizations. So where did this particular role come into place? When we had, of course, the government doing most of the social relief and rehabilitation work required for the country. Uh, of course, the government has a mandate to do it. And when we talk of participative or cooperative or collaborative sort of efforts, all these align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You all know about it, right? The SDGs. So when we have a large agenda for our country to fulfill by 2030, and even before that, we had the Millennium Development Goals, and even in our own India, we had our own indicators to see that we have development of the nation. We had the Planning Commission doing several sort of programs. So the government alone is not enough, and that's why the NGOs came to fill the gap. So when NGOs came in, and of course, the government has a large agenda. They have got different verticals for which they focus upon. But NGOs, they started having separate or specific areas for them to work. For example, you can talk of rural development or women's rights or children's education or literacy or environment issues, WhatsApp, uh, microfinance support for financial empowerment and things like that. So there are several social causes and development initiatives for which the NGOs are being part of. And then that's how they have been working together with the government also in some programs. Then, when we talk of now NGOs, now why they are here and how they have been working alone as well as with the government, then comes the entrepreneurship development scene. The next slide, ma'am. So when we say entrepreneurship development, uh, we all hear the word entrepreneurship, enterprise, and all that often, but it is just a simple business, right? Activity, a little bit of innovation, and saying that the need is fulfilled in the society for whatever we are working towards. So this agenda of having an entrepreneurship mode has come into to being in our country as a probably a national movement in the early 90s, because there was a lot of need also for entrepreneurial activities to see that the social issues are addressed to. So there were two issues which were dealt with. One was unemployment, and the other was poverty. So, which is it, they are the twin problems, yeah, of development. So, how to address it? So then came the scene of entrepreneurship development. So, if we say entrepreneurship development, we see the spirit of enterprise. Okay, so everyone will want to see that there's some benefit happening at the grassroots level. We can hear of so many phrases by saying that the government is doing so much, NGOs are doing so much, but what is the effect of it? The rich become richer, poor become poorer. We have the haves and the have-nots. Yeah, so we have a lot of jargons in the social sector. But when we have all this, and parallelly, we have got also programs run by the government and the NGOs. For example, you have the anti-poverty program by the government, like the Mantri Rojgar Yojana. It's a central government program. And there they focus on providing self-employment opportunities for educated youth and those who are unemployed. So this Pradhan Mantri Rojgar Yojana, or the PMRY, is one initiative to focus on the poor people, and it is termed as an anti-poverty program. Like that, we also have a training to rural youth for self-employment called the TRISEM, or the TRYSEM. This is also a centrally sponsored program that was started in 1979 on August 15th, to be exact. And this objective was to provide technical and business expertise to rural people who are below the poverty line, especially those who are belonging in the age group 18 to 35. So when we have again the government programs coming in, yeah, the NGOs working with the government, is it enough? Is it well planned? Is it well planned? Is it adequate enough? Or we've got so many NGOs today. The numbers are just increasing day by day. Are they enough to fill the gap? But the essence is seeing, Are these NGOs effective enough to address the issue of the global poverty or the Indian poverty scenario? So now let's look at the facet of NGOs and entrepreneurship. We first spoke of NGOs, then entrepreneurship development. Now we're going to talk about NGOs and entrepreneurship. So we have got X number of NGOs in our country today, and many have key focus areas they are working on. So in the early 90s, there was an issue of funding crunches in the country, with a lot of FCRA regulations being tightened and foreign funding being restricted. And Indian NGOs were running short of money to sustain their charitable work. So they said, okay, now we have to have a hybrid model where we have to also look into earning revenues within our organizations so that we can sustain the not-for-profit work we are engaged in. So the NGOs came out of that traditional boundaries where they were working like health, sanitation, education, or environment, and joined this entrepreneurial segment. It's not like they forgot where they were working. They did have that key focus as a vision, but still they also adapted some entrepreneurial activities so that they can fulfill this noble mission of addressing this social issue. So the NGOs were also supported by the government. You have the Entrepreneurship Development Cell having a lot of funding come for the entrepreneurs through government various programs, and also NGOs co-opting and collaborating with each other for funding. I'll later tell you all how you can approach these organizations for funding if you have any projects, but for now I will talk about the NGOs. So when we have NGOs collaborating and reaching out to more people in the society, we have got a couple of key players, I would say, who are being promoting the growth of micro, small, and medium enterprises. One such is the UP chapter of National Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs. Basically, they are young professionals who have an idea or serve as a catalyst for the promotion of these micro, small, and medium enterprises. And this was launched in 1985. So they're all young people, and they want to come out with a sort of a cohort where they can mentor and support each other. You all would have heard of Ela Bhatt, a sociologist. Ela Bhatt was one of the visionaries in Ahmedabad. She founded SEWA, that is Self-Employed Women's Association. It is a registered trade union, and in the early 70s and all, it's not much heard of. But now you see this particular trade union has more than 1.5 million or 15 lakh of poor self-employed women who are spread across 16 states in India. Okay, so here it is again empowering the women, giving them microfinance. I'll talk about Grameen Bank a little later. So how this small support of giving a seed money or a microcredit can enhance the entire livelihood or the family's way of living in a small household which is living below the poverty line. Another example would be your World Assembly of Small and Medium Entrepreneurs, the WASME, and Xavier Institute of Social Studies. There are many others which you can draw examples from. So now again, we've spoken about how we can have NGOs and entrepreneurial segment in this particular vertical. So when we have NGOs, and then again, I'm going to back to my topic of saying NGOs and the role in developing NGOs and startups, I have to discuss, of course, about how we can classify these NGOs first. So are all NGOs coming into the development and promoting startups? We have different variants within the NGO segment. Basically, there are three types of NGOs. First would be the primary level NGOs. This primary level are basically the funders, or we call them donor organization types, where they fund other NGOs to implement their programs. We have got Oxfam, ActionAid, UNICEF, Christian Children Fund, in CRY are supporting many programs in India, Caritas, CARE. So all these are NGOs who have resources, and they operate at an international level, and the executive developmental activities either directly or through another NGO, which fall within the same category or with the same line of vision. So you can see a lot of corporates also filling this gap now, corporate foundations. They have got a CSR budget. So the 2% spend they have to do when they have a net profit of 5 crore or more, they cannot implement the entire program. Probably they don't have the expertise at this point in time, or they want to partner with a NGO in the local area who has experience working here. So in this case, they become a primary level NGO, the corporate foundations, wanting to spend the CSR budget. The next would be the intermediate NGOs. These intermediate NGOs are those who procure funds from various agencies. They can be like some NGO who's working as a bridge between the donor organization and the grassroots level NGOs. So you can see that they procure funds from various organizations, and then they conduct trainings, workshop for the NGOs like Seva, we spoke about, and other Awake is there one organization, which is an intermediate one, which links the donor organization with the grassroots level organization. The third, of course, is a grassroots level NGOs. We all hear of this word, grassroots, grassroots. What is a grassroots? Grassroots are those who are implementing the project on ground. They conduct the field activities. They're all experts. They've got rapport with the local people there. They can identify their needs. And even the people accept them readily because they've seen them working in their land. So they say if there are any problems, they're easily approachable. So there's one project in Bikaner I had visited 2 years ago called Urmul. Have you heard of this? It is in Rajasthan. And here it is actually, basically a family of organizations which works towards social and economic change in the lives of people living in the harsh conditions of Rajasthan. They have extreme weather conditions there. Either it's too hot or too cold. When I was there, it was -1 degree. Okay, so here what they do is they empower these grassroots women in doing this sort of a traditional weaving and embroidery. Okay, and so that is again promoted towards social enterprise called Urmul based in Bikaner. So the money is earned through this sale of products is shared with the women who are part of this entire activity. So this way, an NGO, grassroots level NGO, is able to empower many hundreds of women who have the skill, and that is promoted so that the traditional skill is also sustained. At the same time, they're able to earn revenue and manage their lives. Another of such organization is called Rutseti. It is again committed to entrepreneurship development, and their key focus is motivating, training, and facilitating other organizations or the grassroots level people. When we say NGOs, we can identify, right? When we hear names, we can say where they fit in, which are the tiers, tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3. It doesn't matter, they're all non-government organizations. It depends what need you have and where you have to approach. That classification is being given for that purpose. So when we say NGOs are engaged in training, what type of trainings do these NGOs arrange for or organize? First is, you see many NGOs engaging in EDPs, like this particular program is again a sort of a training or a mentoring of students on what entrepreneurship is, right? So there are many NGOs who conduct entrepreneurial development programs or other training programs, skill development, livelihood skills, how to have a self-help group, market the products, how to produce a particular product. Yeah, you see many SDGs engaged in phenol making, pickle making, bag making. Yeah. Now with the COVID, they all are into mask making. So again, we need NGOs to train other people how to produce all this. So that is one level of stimulation, the focus which one training is engaged with. Second is counseling. So counseling means just not career counseling or psychosocial counseling. It is also making an NGO being prepared to handle a project, conducting a need assessment, or identifying what areas they should work with, providing consultancy services basically. So here you need to know what the strategic planning should be, how you could work on an impact map or an outcome map to see where you're going to lead your program to. So advising or counseling an organization on the work that they are engaging in. That is the second level of training an organization works towards. The third is assisting. Assisting means, again, you have a direct assistance, either you link them with the banks to procure some financial support, or to e-commerce websites or social commerce websites, social media basically, to market their products. So assisting them to building up the capacities and seeing that their products are marketed. So we spoke of stimulation, counseling, and assistance. Clear so far? Do you have any doubts? We'll take a break and ask for any doubts and then move on.
Participants, if you have any doubts, kindly you may ask.
Okay. I'll move on thinking there's nothing to ask. So when we say NGOs not all NGOs are wonderful players, right? We all are teaching, we're just learning through our experiences. So we can say we have strengths as well as weaknesses, like how we do SWOT for any program. NGOs also have got strengths and weaknesses, which we have accepted. So what is the strength of an NGO? As against another organization, which is a for-profit, a company or a corporate, the overheads for an NGO is very lean or very minimum. They say 15 to 20% is what the overhead or the expenses of running the NGO is limited to. That is advisable also. So when we say that NGOs conscious in spending the money which they have earned through donations. So they can't spend all the money saying that we are feeding our staff and they're providing them all support, right? So there's a very lean overhead and operating cost for NGOs. Second is the flexibility and the responsiveness in operation. So they have got, suppose they have an issue which they're going to handle, they have the privilege of seeing how they can pilot it, see whether it is successful, and then based on the response, adapt to it, improvise it, yeah, and then invent probably a proper solution to address an issue. So they can invent change in the process of implementing a program. As I told you earlier, when they work with the grassroots level groups, they are near to the client. Yeah, they can identify themselves with the need they have, and they are also very sensitive to what they want. So that is an advantage for the NGOs when they work. That's why many corporates, CSR and other donor agencies, they want to work with the NGOs to implement their programs because their proximity with the client group is much better than the corporate or the donor organization. Another new arena is now everyone's talking of innovation. Yeah, piloting a program, and you have got seed funding provided by Penny for this particular aspect where you have a new project being implemented. So again, an NGO is known to be having the capacity for innovation because they engage a lot of volunteers. They have a lot of strategic planners and thinkers in their board who can advise them on how to do a particular program with a developmental approach. So when we say NGOs, are they enough? Do they have enough sort of wherewithal to manage the programs? Parallelly, they also have to have interest being garnered within their organization, right? So they have got the stimulating and mobilizing of interest also happening parallelly in the community, which gives them the momentum to go ahead. And of course, like how any marketing agenda is depending on the customer's feedback, here also for them, the customer is a grassroots beneficiaries or they have target beneficiaries, which they have to work on. And so they field test and see which is the best way to address this particular gap. So this is the strengths of an NGO. Okay, being pompous about what NGOs are, how good they are, and patting our backs. They have also recognized the weaknesses they have. So what are the weaknesses? The weaknesses, an NGO would have been founded by a person who had a passion to do a social work and charitable mode of operation. But now when you are into the entrepreneurial work, yeah, going to raise money, then there is sort of a conflict, an identity conflict with the organization. So I was meant to do a sort of a traditional way of social work, and now I'm into entrepreneurship development. How can I bridge the gap? Am I the same person? Is my ideology changing? Will people accept me to be a social worker like who I was earlier? Or they're going to see that I'm getting into business and they're going to lose out on the trust factor. So the doubtful sort of whole identity is also one weakness of the organization. And also the leaders and their successors, will they carry on this particular vision with the same passion the founder had? That is again a weakness. So suppose an NGO did not have a business philosophy at all, and now they're getting into the area of entrepreneurship where they have to raise revenues, and they're not able to blend that with the program they're carrying out. Then again, they're not able to balance that. So that is again one weakness. And not many are having this sort of a hybrid model of a social enterprise today. Either they are for profit or they are not for profit. Not many are having two verticals in the same organization where one raises resources and the other feeds into spending for the charitable work we do. So now we are evolving. NGOs are able to understand other models and trying to do it. But that they see as one of the weaknesses. So now again, the Corporate Social Responsibility Act has made mandatory that impact assessment must be carried out as part of the amendment now. So now NGOs are also being capacitated. But before, this impact assessment was one challenge for the NGOs to engage in, because they never knew the formality, too many reporting formats. How do I know the impact? I'm working with passion. I'm doing 100% justice and all that. But when you document and show them this is not what you have been asked to do, then there's a challenge in acceptance. So when we see all these strengths and weaknesses, now we have to also see how these NGOs have now come up and now they are engaging in social entrepreneurial ventures. What is social entrepreneurship? It is a simple way of saying, I'm doing business for a social cause. Whatever money I raise, I'm reinvesting to do my social activities. So the profit is not made for the benefit of the person who is running the social enterprise. So otherwise it is entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is one who raises money and uses the profit for his own needs, right? And some may be reinvested for the company and some he may take as a partner. But then a social entrepreneur will reinvest the entire profit for the sake of a social cause. That is a difference between an entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur. And for a social entrepreneur, for him, the success is how I have impacted the society through my work. For an entrepreneur, how much profit I have made. So that is a simple difference I could bring about, given the limited time. Otherwise, we could go on talking of what a social entrepreneur is against an entrepreneur. And we have heard of many entrepreneurs, Ambani's, Tata's, Birla's, but also they have a social entrepreneurial angle to it also. They were doing a lot of profitable ventures. The social entrepreneurial segment comes in when we see Tata having a lot of social enterprises. In fact, Tata Institute of Social Science is also one of the entrepreneurial ventures. They wanted to invest for a social cause where they can have more professionals coming into the social sector. Like with Reliance, now they have a foundation through which they carry out a lot of social work. All corporates, the leading corporates who are into for-profit making, they are all having parallel foundations which are into entrepreneurial or social entrepreneurial activities. So when we say social entrepreneurship, again, you must be a little confused. Again, how are these different from NGOs? Are these exclusive enterprises? So the next slide will tell you about it. There are different types of social entrepreneurship, which we can classify. Community level programs is one. Non-profit organization or NGO is a second. We have heard of a lot of cooperatives where they have the funds again reaching the people who have. So Urmul is again a cooperative I spoke about. And then we have social enterprises. It could be a for-profit or a not-for-profit. And now social purpose business or business with a purpose, where we carry out a business for a particular social cause. So it is a for-profit total activity with a social agenda in it. Okay. So if I want to be a social entrepreneur, if I'm an NGO and I want to be a social entrepreneur bring about development, so how am I going to identify myself with the mission I have? So first I have to identify the need, which area I'm going to work. The next slide, ma'am. So which area I'm going to work. So when I know that, yes, my passion is children, I want to work in the area of education or health for the children, then I have identified my cause already. So social entrepreneur, first, he has to pursue this particular passion he has. Identifying the issue and trying to solve that. Probably a little bit of innovation, taking a little bit of risk in this activity, piloting it, and then after a thorough analysis, going ahead with the project he has in mind. So there are many NGOs who have worked with in this particular social entrepreneurship angle, and I would like to talk about how we have moved on from traditional organizations to what we are now, socially responsible businesses. So when we see traditional not-for-profit, I told you this totally started with a passion of doing social work. And it was like nothing to do with revenue making, not raising any money, even training of it free. Yeah, I don't raise any money because it is a sin for me to ask for money for my service. That was a traditional not-for-profit mindset. Then after the sustainability factor came in, fundraising was difficult for organizations. They said, okay, I have a not-for-profit, but I will raise revenue from the income generation activities. So they started making small products, selling them. So within a particular fund limit, there are no taxes was applicable for NGOs. If I'm right, it was about 10 lakhs. Within 10 lakhs, they could still sell products for organization sustenance and report that to the income tax. I think that number is right as of now, but this is last 2 years ago. So when we have NPOs or NGOs have income generation activities, they could sustain the not-for-profit portfolio. Then came your social enterprise in the early 90s. When social enterprises came into being, they were again, am I going to be for-profit or not-for-profit? Some started registering directly as Section 8 companies or as a for-profit company itself. And they had a social agenda. They could identify a cost and then support whatever revenue they wanted to make to reach that particular program, which is for charity. Socially responsible business, I'm doing business being conscious of the triple bottom line. That whatever business I do is economically beneficial, socially and environmentally also being morally managed. So when I say triple bottom line, social, economic, environment, there are a lot of researches available where you can see how you can align with it. Socially means when I have the cost identified, the children or the education, I'm working towards it. And at the same time, I'm not exploiting the environment because I'm working for the cause of a particular social issue. So I'm being conscious of all these factors when I'm engaging in a socially responsible business. Next comes your CSR, the corporate practicing the social responsibility. So 2013, the act came into being that it was made compulsory for corporates to invest on social programs. Then you have the traditional for-profit. So from the beginning, you have companies, right? Registered for-profit companies. So that is it. So now you see how we are moving from being a traditional not-for-profit to traditional for-profit organization. See, the first three, you can see they had a mission for which they have to work towards. And they were accountable to all the stakeholders, whoever they were working with, the beneficiaries, your donors, the government and all that. And they had the income reinvested for the social programs or operation costs. But when you come to for-profit making motives, here your accountability is limited to your shareholders. I want the investors to be happy. And then the profit is distributed to the shareholders. Whereas for social enterprises, profit is reinvested for the stakeholders, like your other examples I spoke about. So when we say social enterprises or entrepreneurs in the development space, there are some names which comes at the top of our head, right? You all would have heard of Mohammed Yunus. I'll tell you all a story. Mohammed Yunus was a professor in economics in Bangladesh. So one day after college, when he was walking back home, he saw a group of women weaving baskets at the basket weaving. So every day he will see these women will wish him and he will wish them back and he'll wonder they are keeping on weaving. How much money do they make? So he asked these women, so you're weaving every day so many baskets, so you make a lot of money. I'm just dramatizing it so that you all can conceive the story. So the women said, no, suppose I make 20 rupees in Bangladesh currency terms, for 20 bahts, then I have to pay most of it to the person who gave me money in the morning to buy the material to make the basket. So I am left with only very little, 3 or 4 bahts for the day. And with that, I have to manage my food, my family needs. So he said, why are you taking it from the investor in the morning? If you had the 20 bahts, you didn't have to borrow, repay, all the 20 is yours, right? So she said, no, I don't have that wherewithal. I don't have someone to give me that money. So why can't all you women, about 50 women are there, why can't you all go and ask the bank to give you all some loan? No, the bank will not give us because they will need so many documentation and guarantor and all. So he went to the nearby bank, Mr. Mohammed Yunus, and said, why don't you give these women loans? Then the bank said, no, they don't have a permanent address, they don't have any guarantor, how can I? And he said, I will be the guarantor. You can trust me and give me my guarantorship, you can give them their loans. So with that started the Grameen Bank, initial efforts of alleviating the people who are in the BPL to have some sort of a fund accessibility to have their own social activity or economic activity being done. The next slide. So when these people had access to credit, okay, what happens? They didn't have to pay interest. They have the money. They can make more baskets because they need have to pay back. They can buy more material to make more baskets and more money. And they have more money in the household. What they do? They have good food. They can send their child to school. They can have good health because any medical needs they can attend. Okay, so this is the basic difference a small investment money or an access to credit provides for a family. And they say, especially when women has access to funds, she's able to take care of the entire family needs. So what is the difference between Grameen Bank and other banks? The Grameen Bank, well, first one you see in a normal bank, when you go and ask for a loan, they'll ask who's your collateral, a document proof for a guarantor to give. But Grameen Bank does not ask. And here they'll see you have a fridge, washing machine, TV, what all assets you have. You ask your parents, anyone who applied for a bank loan, the hassle they go through in telling all these details, they wonder, for simple 10,000 personal loan, I have to give you all my assets at home. No, that is the reality we are living in. But here for Grameen Bank, it is no need for any sort of a material possession to be assessed. And because you have got assets and you have got collateral, automatically you are not below the poverty line, so you can have access to credit. So these conventional banks are majorly meant for those who can afford. Yeah, so it is meant for the rich, but the Grameen banks is meant for the poor. And here the banks, the objective is to maximize the profit. Yeah, so they'll say gold mela, savings loan mela, and all that. They want more people to come and more fixed deposits to be made. The intention is to maximize the profit. But here the Grameen bank's intention is to have overall social development, where people have access to credit, they have more monies to invest and make more income. Here in conventional banks, major borrowers are men because they're the earning members, they can show the salary slip or they can have the bank loan being provided. But here, 96% of the borrowers are women. The most of the banks are placed in the urban areas or where the businesses happen in the tier 2, 3 cities. But here, the Grameen Bank is meant for those in the rural areas. Later, we have now corporate banks that are coming in, but I'm telling you the early days of Grameen Bank. In the conventional bank, when you have a default or not paid a loan, then they go to the court, they give you a notice, and then the harassment continues. But here, there's no legal instrument, and then you are not punished for not paying the loan, but they'll reschedule you. Or someone else in the group will pay the loan and you can pay them back when it's possible. So there's some flexibility here. And here in the conventional bank, if you don't pay, the interest rates is again added to the outstanding due. And also, it is not the interest rate that sometimes will go beyond the principal amount. After I raise 10,000 rupees and ask for a 5-year loan, the end of the year, I see that I'm paying more than 10,000, which I had borrowed for, including here, the Grameen Bank, the interest cannot exceed the principal. So that is again one policy they have got. And here in the conventional bank, suppose I take a loan and then I die, then the family is responsible to repay the loan. But here in the Grameen Bank, no liability on the family. Okay, and moreover, when you have a loan in the bank, there's no care for the family. They don't give them education support or housing support, but Grameen Bank will ensure that all these people who have taken loans from the Grameen Bank have got education for their children, housing and sanitation facilities, and also they have a pension fund. You see the starking difference between a normal bank and a Grameen Bank. You wonder, why don't we have all Grameen banks only in our country? But we also need revenue. We need to have a GDP going up, so we need all these banks as well. For the rich, okay, let them also who can afford to pay interest pay and get the nation economy growing. But those who can't afford, we need more Grameen banks. Next slide now. So after this, if there's time, I will also like to show you a short film of Dr. Arvind. He's again a social entrepreneur who you've heard of Dr. V, I guess. So we'll watch the movie and then we will discuss about Arvind High Hospital. Ma'am, can you give me the host access or can I share it from my screen? Is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll do that.
Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Audio? Audio?
Yes, ma'am.
Audio is visible. Audio is you're
Audible, ma'am.
Yeah.
Audio is audible.
ससुराली बात हो जाता है। चल मैं अपने गाड़ी पी रहा है, ऊपर पानी कम मिलेगा।
Dr. Govindappa Venkataswamy was 58 when he founded Aravind. When it first started, the hospital had 11 beds. Its mission was the eradication of needless blindness. Today, it is the largest and most productive eye care facility in the world.
See, McDonald's concept is simple. They feel they can train people all over the world, irrespective of different religions, different culture, different all those things, to produce a product in the same way and deliver it in the same manner in hundreds of places.
He kept talking about McDonald's and hamburgers, and none of it made any sense to us. He wanted to create a franchise, a mechanism of delivery of eye care with the efficiency of McDonald's.
There are now 5 Aravind Eye hospitals in South India. They are all self-sustaining, and together they see over 1.4 million patients and perform over 200,000 sight-restoring surgeries each year. 2/3 of its services are free. At Aravind, every patient who can pay covers costs for 2 who cannot. Because of their high numbers, the revenue from paying patients not only covers costs for Aravind's free services, but also generates a surplus that funds all growth and expansion. All the hospitals send medical teams into the villages. Patients requiring surgery are brought back to the base hospital, where they receive food, lodging, treatment, and return transport completely free of charge. Close to 50% of all the patients Aravind treats are sought out and brought back to the hospital through these screening eye camps.
And I don't insist upon that man must pay me before I do anything for him. I said, give the sight man, let him give whatever he can give. If he cannot afford, doesn't matter, he can give later. So priority is for human welfare.
The paramedical team at Aravind forms the backbone of the system. These young women are recruited from villages around Madurai and are trained in refraction testing, ward and theatre duty, counselling and housekeeping.
They had so much of respect to the patient, and they were willing to do any type of work for the patient. And they were also willing to share with us in the dream of the hospital. That is how our program started. So from 1976 onwards till today, every year we take about 100 girls from the village.
4 highly trained paramedics assist each doctor, thus optimizing the surgeon's time and skill. In this way, a doctor at Aravind averages over 2,000 surgeries a year, against a national average of 220.
Doctors are not paid extra because they are doing more operation. But the other way it helps also. Ours is a teaching institution. The more patients are there, the better the training can be.
We all know ophthalmologists are a premium in this country. We are only 10,000 to 11,000 ophthalmologists for a billion population. So we have to be much more productive to meet the demands of the people. So, and Aravind has pioneered a system that helps us to do high volume work. And I think it's a work in progress. We have reached probably 40-50% of what one could do.
This is the intraocular lens production facility which we started in 1992 with support from Seva Foundation in US. This is the intraocular lens which we produce here, and this lens serves as a substitute lens once we remove the natural cataract lens from the eye. The early 90s, there were no eyewear manufacturers in India. We had to import lenses from the West. At that time, each lens was costing around $200. They were not affordable in most developing countries. So we devised our own methods of making lenses up to international standards, and we were able to sell them at about $5 a piece. Today, we manufacture a wide range of ophthalmic products as well, and we are exporting them to over 85 countries around the world.
Supposing I am able to produce eye care techniques, methods and all those in the same way and make it available in every corner of the world, the problem of blindness is gone.
Okay. So if you could tell me how this particular organization has evolved to become entrepreneurial. It is very simple. They started providing eye care, and then they found the issue of the lens being very expensive. So they started manufacturing it. So what happens when they started manufacturing it? It becomes very lesser expensive for them to do the treatment, and they can reach out to more people with the funds or the facilities they had. So this is an entrepreneurial way of handling the issue. So what is the issue here? Preventing needless blindness. So many people you see in the rural areas have this problem of being aware of the cataract could be cured. They think that, oh, I can't see because I'm old. It is just a simple operation of less than 5 to 6 minutes, which they do for an eye. And I've personally also been to the rooms where they do it. It's just so quick. Only the procedures before the operation is some time where they have to keep everything ready. But then the operation itself is 5 to 6 minutes, and now you have laser and all that, where people could be just cured of the cataract in no time. So, but then the fear factor was there for many people. Oh, if I go to have the blade on my eye, I'll become blind. So that's why many NGOs, they started spending their time in creating awareness amongst the people that cataract is just a simple procedure. And then they also go to one step further in identifying hospitals with the cataract operation, and they bring the patients from the rural areas to the hospital and then drop them back after the necessary treatment is done. So the NGOs addressing a small issue like preventing needless blindness or cataract or facilitating cataract surgeries can go a long way in the life of a person. Suppose a person is having cataract at the age of 55, he cannot work after that. He is being dependent. Yeah, he has to depend on family members for any activity. He cannot see it properly, right? He can't go for work, he can't earn income, so it becomes a burden. But if that cataract is operated and he can see, he can work for another 10, 15 more years. And once you have earning member in the family, you know how that person, the entire the perspective changes, right? Because he's an earning member, he brings in revenue, the family is being supported, so he's no more a burden. So the entire perspective changes. This is the reality. So when we say Dr. V, again, he was a visionary. He said, a simple procedure, let us start by treating the people free of cost who can't afford. And he started charging people who can afford to pay. So it's not like I am making a lot of money by a cataract operations. The nominal charges he does charge. And then people are also given free surgeries for those who can't afford. And the lens, because he started manufacturing in India, he's now gone to one step level by his exporting his lens. So see change in the last 30 years in the entire eye care facilities. We have Shankar Netralia, Agarwals, all these engaging into eye care. When you say the top area in which NGOs are engaged in sector-wise, you see the first thing being education, next is health. And education, of course, we do need for our children. That's why we have the Right to Education program, adult literacy programs all coming in. But when we say eye care, that's very important because eyes are very important for us to do any task we want to do, either on a personal front or for economic purposes. There are many more. I can share the YouTube links. We don't have time to talk about the others. Miracle Korea is one of my favorite stories here, where we had one organization, a social enterprise. He's a student based in Bombay, Dhruv Lakha. And what he did was, he was traveling in a bus and he saw one boy struggling to know which station to get off, and he was a bit restless. And he was wondering why this bus. He can ask, right? When is the next stop? I want to get on in this particular stop, and why can't he speak? He realized that person is deaf and mute. He can't speak, no, he can't hear. So he was wondering, what about all the children who cannot speak and hear after they get to schooling, just preschooling and all that? How do they sustain their life? How do they manage their life? Who is giving them a job? How are they managing the work? So after a lot of deliberation, he said, what work can I create for such people who cannot speak or talk? Yeah. And then he started a social enterprise. It's a very short film, which I'm going to show you. And you will be surprised to see how this particular person had brought in a lot of difference in the minds of those who cannot speak or hear. I'm going to share this video. Okay, I've disabled you. Ma'am, you have to make me the host again, co-host.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I started medical careers in January 2009 with a mission to employ low-income deaf youth. With the army of 60 soldiers, we offer excellent service in Mumbai.
Hello?
You want to prepone the pickup by half an hour?
That can be done.
I appreciate the sincerity. मेहनत तो इनसे सीखे.
We believe in professionalism and hard work. Respect and appreciation from our clients increases our confidence.
Bain Capital has been associated with Miracle Courier since April last year, and their track record has been impressive.
At Medical Careers, we believe in empowering our employees and showing the world what we are capable of. In December 2010, we got the National Award from the President of India for empowering people with disabilities.
Our training is top class. We want them to become role models for all the other deaf people out there who want to join our force. At Miracle, the idea is to empower them to lead respectable and meaningful lives.
We have 2 branches, 60 people, and 1 million dreams. Medical Careers has shown resilience and fortitude. Our work is growing every day. We aim to empower those we employ, companies that are ready to take on tomorrow. Medical Careers, delivering possibilities we can.
This is another organization where it was a startup in the early 2009 or something like that. And here you see that how this particular, he's observant. He saw how these children are struggling because they could not speak and who's going to give them a job. And he started a courier company. It's a startup. So this passion for a social change should first be there in the entrepreneur to do something for the benefiting the society. So initial investment, of course, he did need. So a corporate company gave the small place for him to start that courier services. He did a lot of pilots. He found these the people who cannot speak and hear, gave them training. He, of course, the admin staff, you can see she was talking over the phone. So there are 99% people who can't speak and hear. The admin staff, of course, they have to communicate to the any queries they might have. So they use a messaging facility to the maximum. So suppose I'm going out for delivery, I can't speak or hear, I can use a SMS message to ask, doors locked, what to do, any alternate address. Yeah, so everyone cannot understand sign language. So text messaging was very effective for these people. There's very less attrition or people leaving the job because they're having a secure place to work, the identity, they're given uniforms, they have a bag which talks about a brand which they are couriering for, and they've got a lot of corporate clients giving them the services. Because they are disabled, there's no compromise on the quality of service. As much as time another courier service would require to deliver a packet, the same time or in lesser time, this particular Miracle Courier is able to do the services. And also you can see them using the public transport. Yeah, the train or the buses, they don't use because they can't hear any horn sound, they'll not be able to identify. So it is safer for them to use a public transport. So with the existing systems, having a not-profit mindset or a social entrepreneur mindset, you can definitely bring out a lot of change in the development space. So you need have to worry where I'm going to start. Suppose I have a good novel idea, who's going to help me to try out this idea? Like someone gave the space for Dhruv Lakra to start the courier service in this basement. Will someone help me in my projects? There are a lot of colleges which has got an incubation cell. I was at MSSW a day before where they were saying they're inviting proposals, for startups. And even if it's anything technology based, you can have your proposal sent to TBIS, like your IIT, Bilgrow, or you can go to BIT or any technology based incubators. You Google, you have a long list of people who can support your project. You've got even captured the bigger players. Yeah, as funding. Your Whole Life is another association of investors in Bangalore, where they're also looking for projects which can be focusing on health this year. So if you have any projects, I can still link you with Whole Life, which is based in Bangalore, or at MSSW, we have a very good thought. I think the time is up and I can take some questions for now. I wish I had more time to discuss more stories, but then 1 hour was left. Any questions?
If you have any questions, you may ask now.
Definitely must be having a lot of questions. No? You can unmute and ask or put in the chat box. So we have students beyond SKPC attending, no ma'am? Please type your questions in the chat box and I will answer. Because we put your audio on, it's no questions.
A very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, there is one question from a student where we reside by the marketplace. Our college is situated near the marketplace where the students are interested in helping out the dwellers, the small dwellers, where they don't find proper place, the hygiene factor when it comes to the restroom facilities. They are interested in helping them out, but is there any funding agencies where they can go approach, where
Yes.
we can join with them and help the people, ma'am?
Sure. There is a bird's nest project of Equitas. Equitas Bank, Small Finance Bank is there, right? They have a trust called Equitas Development Initiative Trust. And they have got a bird's nest project where they provide homes for the homeless or the payment dwellers. You can approach them. You can give a proposal on behalf of your college, or the students can represent and probably that will show you all the way, but they can refer you to someone else if they're not able to give you all any sort of assistance. That is one thing I see on Payment Wellness program. If there are children there in that area and you want them to be educated, sent to school or to a home, a daycare, then there is an organization called Arunodayam in Rayapuram, where they give protection or education for the street children. So these two comes on top of my mind. Beyond that, there are NGOs like Don Bosco Society or Anbuilam, Brother Siga. They work with the street children. They are the poor people who need payments, so they can also be approached. The issue is there are many initiatives being done for payment dwellers, but because they have to live there and earn their livelihood, they refuse to move out of that area because that space will be taken away. So they sleep there, they live there. Though they don't have toilet facilities or bathing facilities, they prefer to be there. Because if they move out, another family may come and occupy that space. They will not be able to sell whatever product they have. So that's the reason why we have got the slum tenements also along the Marina Beach. No? They were asked to vacate after the tsunami and they were sent to Semenjeri. But fishermen, they have to be near the sea. So they said, I have to come back and live here because this is where my income is going to come from. So it requires a lot of behavioral change, and also the factor that there are no sort of community sheds for them to have their products sold. Like the fish markets, they don't have a common community shed to sell their fruits and vegetables near the Paris Corner areas. So at least the homes, if you could provide, talking about the safety aspect of the children, it requires a lot of counseling and efforts from the organization. So I think it will be better you can talk to Equitas. I'll share the lead to ma'am. Equitas and check whether the Bird's Nest project could be extended to this area. Another question. How can they make people to invest on their idea as Seva organization started from small to big? Okay. First of all, to invest in an idea, you need to have a very good proposal, what you're going to propose, what is your idea. And there are many pitch fests being conducted by several colleges. So you have to participate. LIBA has a pitch fest, VIT has one, MSSW is also inviting for pitch fest proposals. So you have to keep out looking out in the open and identify programs like this and then propose your idea. And once your idea is winning in the first three, I think there are funders who are wanting to support that project. Time people can invest in them and join them. There are many mentors. Once you are selected by a project to be funded with, then they also come forward to mentoring you and guiding you. In the IIM Bangalore, we had one of our students being mentored for a special tool he's developed for educating the dyslexic children. So he had a funder, Capgemini, who invested more than 1 crore for that idea, and is going to be continued to be supported even after the 3-year funding period. So if your idea is good, there are many people who want to invest in your idea.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm Vedoli from BCom Accounting and Finance, ma'am. In CSIM, do they conduct any internship for students, ma'am?
At the COVID scenario, we are not providing internship at this point in time. If at all, only virtual sort of assistance and documentation. But again, we have run out of internship needs for this academic year, unfortunately, with the COVID. Because we all are working from our home offices, and it is a challenge, of course. But I can ask our coordinator, Lakshmi, to check if there are any NGOs who are willing to take you on as intern. If you're interested to volunteer for a particular period of time, I can link you with our student who I told you is being mentored by IIM Bangalore for the dyslexic program, and probably he can help you to do some community hours and show in your internship as a record for community hours for your certificates.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I'm happy all of you are having these doubts and clarifying.
If you have any questions, you may ask me. In chat box, there's a message. In rural areas, possible to start up with zero investment.
Yes. Again, what is your idea? What do you want to do in a rural area? Yeah, you will have a funder coming and supporting. You need to put in investment for any project you want. If your idea is good, then you're able to do that, propose that to either to a in a pitch fest or to a corporate or to another NGO who's willing to take up that idea, falling in line with their vision and mission. Then I don't think you need an investment to start up. You can work with that NGO and have the project.
Participants, kindly turn on your video for the photo session. I repeat, participants, turn on your video for the photo session. Participants, kindly turn on your video for the photo session.
Thank you, girls. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now I call upon Madhumita ma'am to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dhanushya. Showing gratitude is one of the simplest yet more powerful things humans can do for each other. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first thank by giving thanks to glory to our presiding deity, Shri Kanika Parameshwari, for showering her blessings and for making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I would like to thank our special guest, Ms. Mari Banu, Director, Center for Social Initiative and Management, Social Auditor, SAM India, UK, who, despite her busy schedule, has found time to grace this occasion. Thank you, ma'am. My heartfelt gratitude to our honorary correspondent, Sri Gugilam Ramesh sir, and other members of management for supporting us in all our endeavors. My heartfelt gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. T. Mohanasri ma'am, Vice Principal, Dr. P.B. Vanitha ma'am, for the guidance and continuous encouragement. I would like to thank our teaching fraternity, administrative, our students for their continuous support. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks to one and all present here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Mute.
Now I call upon Vedavali for the national anthem.
जय गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you, Vedavali.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Girls, wait for a few seconds. In chat box, we will post the feedback link. You may fill it down. Those feedback link is in chat box. You can fill it now. Thank you, girls. You may leave now.